22nd, 2017, having called the meeting to order. If you would, please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance, and followed by an invocation for council by Councilman J. Arrowwood.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day that you have created. I thank you, Lord, as you demonstrated yesterday that there is order in this world and there is order in this universe, and that it is because you are our Creator. I thank you for this council who has given of themselves to move this city forward. Pray, Lord, as we go through tonight that we will conduct the business of the city, and it will all be in accordance to your will. In your holy name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Ms. Duncan, anyone to appear in public forum this evening?
No, sir.
With that, then, council will move to the council minutes from the council meeting from August 8th, 2017. I'll entertain a motion they be received.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowwood?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Ms. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Ms. Alba? Yes. Mayor Danner?
Yes. Council departmental reports are contained in your packet this evening. Our financial report will be brought to us by Mr. Seifert, and following that, Police Chief Matt Hamby will provide highlights from the police department. Mr. Seifert.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight we bring to you the financial report for the first month of the fiscal year, that is July 2017. Starting there in the general fund, we have revenue recorded of $813,461 with expenditures of $1,116,251. That expenditure amount carries us 3% under budget for the month of July. Referencing the dashboards, we have a combined positive variance of $529,030. And then looking at the cash balance, we have $13,237,178 in the general fund. Moving to the hospitality fund, we have revenue recorded of $183,838. That is 1% over budget. The expenditures of $10,364 with a carrying cash balance of $1,381,083. And finally, in our stormwater fund, we have revenue recorded of $8,321 with expenditures of $697 and a carrying cash balance in the stormwater fund of $1,188,063. Be happy to take any questions that you may have.
Council? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate the information. Chief, floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's my privilege to take a couple of minutes to go over our July activity report for the police department. Before I get started, I'd like to just recognize a couple of our staff members who are here, Lieutenant Kelly and Lieutenant Fortenberry. They're here just to give me support, but also answer any questions if they arise during or after the presentation. If you can imagine, our police department we have a lot of functions that we provide, so we have a lot of numbers that we keep. I will try not to bore you with a lot of statistics, but I'll try to move through these numbers pretty rapidly and just bring some highlights to your attention. Feel free to stop me if you want to discuss or ask questions about any of these as I move through them. And I'd like to share later in the report a couple of examples of some of the things we're doing. Our department is divided into 4 divisions. The first one that I'll talk about is the administrative division. It's managed by Lieutenant Holcomb. This slide here just summarizes our staffing levels, shows authorized positions, and then those that are vacant. The summary of that slide there would be just to show you that we are working on hiring 9 positions right now: 3 detention officers, 3 patrol officers, and one administrative position, and 3 telecommunicators. We maintain a record of the volunteer hours that we received from our alumni members from our Citizens Police Academy. They spent an incredible amount of time helping us do a lot of functions in the community. So as of this year, so far, we've had over 900 volunteer hours put forth from our volunteers. This is a summary of the training activity that occurred during July. I will note that half of the month, 2 weeks, was spent in our summer camp for girls. We did our boys camp in June. So we spent a total of 1,120 hours just on the camp, a total of 1,300 for the month. Our operations division is led by Lieutenant Kelly, who's with us today. This is just a tabulation of all the numbers we keep for our communication center. All in all, from year to date, we are a little bit ahead on the incoming calls for 7-digit calls. We are a small drop in the number of 911 calls, but overall the telephone incoming calls are very similar. The police calls for service that are actually dispatched are very close to last year's numbers, no significant increase or decrease. And for our detention center, we haven't had a large number. Our percentages might be a little misleading, but it's not a large number change in the number of adults that are processed through our detention center, as well as those that are transported to either Greenville or Spartanburg. Our animal control services, just two numbers I'll note here. The calls for service were a little bit up for July, and also the amount of follow-up investigations he worked on for the month of July was significantly increased. Moving on to the patrol division, Lieutenant Fortenberry is with us tonight. Our incident reports, we have a slight increase for the month of July as compared to June. So we had 409 incident reports taken, 129 collision reports, and the trend over the last few years has been definitely an increase in traffic collisions in the city of Greer. This year, however, things seem to have leveled off a little bit. They're pretty consistent with last year so far. This is just a map, maybe a little hard to see on the slide, but it's just it's a GIS map produced by our software that we do our collision reports with, and it's just pretty much a review of where our collisions are occurring, and mostly here is pretty much what we normally see. Most of our main commuter corridors are where our heavy traffic collision numbers are coming from. As you can see, Wade Hampton Boulevard, Buncombe Road, Highway 14, and Poinsett Street. We've had some in the Riverside area and New Woodruff Road. One thing we have noticed a little bit over the last couple of years is more traffic issues down on the southern area of New Woodruff Road and out Highway 101 in that area. Would like to just take a minute to discuss a couple of notable arrests from our patrol division. In Area 1, you see here, these are just some highlights I randomly pulled out that are pretty interesting I'd like to share. There was a call at McDonald's, the one that's on Wade Hampton near Subaru Road. It was a man with a gun call. Officer Santana responded to that call, and after a thorough investigation, he was located a handgun in the car, illegally possessed, along with several types of drugs, methamphetamines and heroin. 3 people were arrested. Quite a bit of work. He had to invest later on to discover they were lying about their identities and that type of thing. And 8 more warrants were served from Greenville County on one of the subjects after we confirmed his identity. Area 2, Officer Hayden was following up on some arrests that had been made at 605 Arlington Road. It's a house that had been pretty much a thorn in the side of the neighbors in that area. He had a suspicion that there were multiple families living in the house. It's listed as a single-family residence. He contacted our building official, Ms. Helms, and she and her staff worked with the police department, and they were able to condemn that residence and vacate it on July the 19th. So that's a good example of teamwork with different departments of our city. In Area 3, a notable arrest on Pennsylvania Avenue. Officer Hayden was responding to a domestic violence call resulting in an arrest of a Mr. Valverde. He was charged with domestic violence of a high and aggravated nature, possession of a weapon during a violent crime, unlawful conduct towards a child, and arson. He allegedly held a knife up to the victim's throat, and as he confronted the suspect to make the arrest, the suspect was armed with a machete in the backyard. Officer Hayden was able to de-escalate the situation and take the person into custody without any use of force. So I thought that was a notable incident to share with you. And also in Shelburne Farms, we had a series of auto breakings, and we were able to solve those after an officer responded to the hospital for an unrelated incident. So we were able to confirm that a drug overdose was the result of one of the persons consuming something that was stolen out of a car. So she was able to follow up and ask more questions and do more interviews, so we were able to solve 5 auto breakings from that. Continuing on, Area 1, some issues we've been working on during the summer have been, it sounds kind of silly, but it's caused a lot of nuisance problems, and that's cruising and parking in some of the parking lots along Wade Hampton. It's caused a nuisance for just the general public who's just trying to conduct their normal daily lives and having to go through these areas. But some of the kids obviously are not causing trouble. However, you have a few rotten ones that spoil the whole bunch. So we've had issues with littering. We've had fights. We had one fight a few months back. A baseball bat was used. They're spinning out in the area, and it's just causing a nuisance. So Sergeant Smith has been working diligently with a lot of the managers from different businesses. He's been able to obtain trespass authorization from those businesses in the form of a letter. So we've been able to move them along with trespass authority. So that's one way to get them to actually move. So that, of course, it is a game of, it's a shell game. They move from one place to another. But we've been trying to work with these groups of kids. Our officers spend a lot of time talking to them. They know a lot of their names. They know our officers. So it's just something we're trying to work through. We're hoping the fact that school's back in session will change a lot of this problem. It's pretty much a seasonal issue we deal with. Area 3, we've just been working on shoring up some of our contact information with homeowners associations. As you can imagine, they change hands, change office holders frequently. So we spend a lot of time on getting names of persons that are over HOAs and that type of thing, so that when we have a community issue, we'll have a quick response to be able to set up conversations to deal with issues quickly. Area 4, we had a really successful community meeting with the Trade Street Association. We had a lot of participation from the police department as well as the community, and that was held in July at the Victor Rec. They had some concerns in that neighborhood from mostly traffic issues. We've gotten out and literally walked. I think some of the elected officials actually walked in that neighborhood, so you notice there's a lot of traffic going through there. Some of the neighbors are very understanding. It's just they live close to some streets that just have a high volume of traffic. So we tried to work through them and answer questions, and we've provided a lot of enforcement in that area as well. This slide just shows some photographic examples of some of the community engagement. This all occurred in July, the Trade Street community meeting. One of our officers actually helped and assisted with a lemonade sale in Chartwell Estates. Just kind of randomly ran across this young person and helped out. And then the Hammond Crossing community has been great to the police department. They've welcomed our presence in helping a lot of their parking issues and concerns they've had at their pool area, common areas. So we've been spending a lot of time there speaking with people. Riverdale, we were invited to the Community Freedom Celebration. They provided a certificate of appreciation to the police department for all that we've done with them. And we did a canine demonstration at Victory United Methodist and participated in Superhero Night at Ignite Dance Studio. Our investigations division is led by Lieutenant Chris Varner, and we've seen a slight increase in the amount of cases assigned during 2017. Thus far, they've taken on 241 criminal investigations. This is just a summary of our victim advocate caseload. I will say that our victim advocate, if you compare her to most of the other agencies in the area, the level of service she provides is extremely high. She sits with them in court, gets some rides to places that they need to go to and from the court hearings, that type of thing. And anyway, her caseload it hit an all-time high in May of 70, and we've never seen anything like that. And it's dropped down a little bit back to a normal level, but there's a summary of her activity. And also our crime analyst, Ms. Ellis, pretty much a lot of what goes on in our police department revolves around the information that she puts out. We're very responsive to where we have identified actual problems. So she, a lot of people have learned how valuable she is and her skills, and so they use her in a lot of the investigations. And in July, she worked on 25 different cases to assist. She's able to clear a lot of cases with Facebook these days, by the way. Lots of cases. And finally, our vice and narcotic unit, has 2 officers in that unit. They had a very busy July. They made 5 arrests. They're more of a long-term investigation, so their numbers aren't real high, but they pack a lot of punch in each one that they make. So they made 5 arrests. That included 4 undercover operations. One noted arrest I'd like to share with you is a prostitution activity that was suspected at Total Relaxation Spa at 806 West Wade Hampton, and we were able to use an undercover operative and confirm that a prostitution operation was going on, and a person was arrested for solicitation of prostitution, later resulting in the business closing. So remove that nuisance from our city as well. That's all I have on the summary, just the highlights. As you can see, a lot goes on. Can't tell you all within a reasonable amount of time, but that's some things I pulled out for July. I'd be happy to answer any questions or any member of our staff.
Council? Appreciate the update, Chief. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Driggers will bring us our administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Just kind of to reiterate a bit on the report that was just given, as a reminder, each of our departments come before you each year to do an annual report of the activity over the last 12 months for their relative department. And then also we have asked each of our department heads to come before council also on an annual basis to provide a highlight of their printed monthly activity report, which is contained within your package for each month. We continue each year to update those. We're always reviewing those on an annual basis. We do that collectively and then also do that individually with each of our departments. So we do ask for your input, your observation, if there are things that we can include in those reports that give you additional information that will be helpful for you in understanding the activity that takes place in each of those respective departments. We ask that you please share that with us. Our department heads are very, very open to including that information in those reports as well. If we should have requests for information that's more of a confidential matter, then we will have some discussion with you about how we can meet that need and still protect the confidentiality that may be needed. And typically that only really applies to the police department, relative more to investigations that they would be involved in. But we do ask that you review those each month as they're presented to you. And again, anything that we can do to help update those that give you a better idea of the activity they're involved in, we're glad to make those adjustments as we review those on an annual basis. Our Eclipse party yesterday was pretty significant. We had about 4,000 folks or so that we're estimating that came here to City Park as a community to celebrate the Great American Eclipse. It was indeed a wonderful event here for us. Very well organized, very well structured. Our event staff prepared for that event, our recreation department, and many of our team were out there. Police department, fire department, members of recreation, members of public services, and then we also had an opportunity to allow all of our employees, as we briefly closed our offices from 2 to 3, to allow folks to come out and enjoy that event as well. It was a great community celebration. Personally, I had an opportunity to meet folks from Amsterdam, had a chance to meet folks from Boston, had a chance to meet folks from New Jersey, and also folks from Virginia that had all traveled here to our area to celebrate. Ironically, some of those folks, many of them we would think would have family or friends in the area that they were coming to visit. But some of those folks literally picked us off the map and chose to come and be in our community for it. We received an email this morning that I really just wanted to take a moment and share with you. It's one of the observations that someone observed while they were in our community, and I thought it would be appropriate to share it with you. It says, I'm hoping that you can share this information with your mayor and elected officials and whomever else in Greer that you may think would need to know about our experience yesterday. It says, my husband and I, both employees at the University of Virginia, had been keeping our eyes on South Carolina's weather forecast all during the week. When it looked like that there were chances for seeing the eclipse, outweighed the chances for rain, we decided to make the trip and pick Spartanburg as our destination. We set out from outside of Charlottesville, Virginia at 6:15 yesterday morning and soon found ourselves, not unexpectedly, with many of our fellow eclipse seekers crawling along I-85 South. While I was driving, my husband scanned various web pages and updated weather forecasts, looking for the times for totality and the viewing venues. At one point, he informed me that Spartanburg was actually outside the zone of totality. Oops. And we then began looking for a new destination. We had heard Greer mentioned during a report on the globalization on Marketplace on PRI last week, and we set our GPS for your destination. We rolled into town just after 2 p.m., and a look through our eclipse glasses showed a big chunk of the sun was already hidden. We then took a quick stroll through town and saw your beautiful park and city hall. The people throwing frisbees, playing catch, and listening to the awesome soundtrack that someone had put together for your party. We stood near the train tracks to view both the town and the moment of totality, and I'm sure I don't need to tell you how amazingly beautiful it was. As we left town, however, our impressions were about Greer and how wonderful it was to see that no one was charging anyone to park. No one was growling for someone to get off of his or her lawn. No shop owners were chasing people from their parking lots. Everywhere we stood and looked, there were people of all ages and all skin colors coming together to share in the spectacular event of our earth and sky. We are just beginning the healing process from 2 weekends ago when many outsiders came to Charlottesville to spew hatred and bigotry. Our much too short visit to your welcoming community yesterday not only provided a wonderful spot to view the eclipse, but helped us believe again that while there is much work to be done around the country to bridge our divides, that welcoming others as neighbors and friends is still possible in a community like Greer. With kindest regards, Susan Kirk, MD, from the University of Virginia.
Very good. That was wonderful.
That's what our community had an opportunity to share, not only with the people who live here, but with the folks who chose to come and visit with us. So it was very, very nice to hear the observation that Dr. Kirk and her husband observed while they were with us yesterday. Had a chance to communicate back with her during the day today and had a really nice exchange. We invited them to come back and visit us again. A couple of things that we do want to make you aware of is our benefits fair for all of our employees will be taking place on Thursday, September 14th. More communications and information will be coming from our HR department, but this is our annual opportunity as we begin the open enrollment process for our insurance program, also for us to share information with all of our employees relative to our wellness program, and then also the exposure that everyone has to the many vendors that participate with us during that day as well. Again, that will be taking place on the morning of Thursday, September 14th, and additional information will come to you directly from our HR department. We do have some information concerning our election filing. Many of you are aware of that, but that election filing did end last week. We will be having an unopposed election for Commission of Public Works. The only candidate to file was Perry J. Williams. Also in Council District 2, we had one candidate to file, Mr. Wayne B. Griffin, and in Council District 4, one member to file, Mr. M. Lee Dumas. There will be a challenged election in District 6. That is between Dexter L. Reeves and Judy P. Albert. We have been advised by our partners at both Greenville County and Spartanburg County Election Commissions that the state statute that changes the methodology for municipal elections takes effect on January 1st of 2018. And as a result, there will not be, unless now the notice to file for write-in candidates expires when?
August 29th.
August 29th is the date to file an intent as a write-in candidate. If that is not done, then we will not have ballots that will be for Commission of Public Works and Districts 2 and 4, and there will be a ballot election for District 6 during the general election in November. Is that correct?
It is.
I want to make sure I got that all correct. But that is the information we have to share with you relative to the election filing. We will also be sharing some information with you at our next meeting. We are working with both our city attorneys and with the Municipal Association of South Carolina on any updates to the methodology and the processes used for council's discussion of items in executive session. We will review those with the mayor prior to that meeting, and then we will have a review with council relative to those exceptions which are allowed for discussion in executive session. So just wanted you to know that we are continuing to have those updates, and we want to make sure we have the most updated information from both the Municipal Association and our attorneys as well. But we are working toward that, and we'll provide that at your next meeting. Also, as we are preparing for that employee benefits fair, it is that time of year when we are evaluating our wellness program and moving forward with that. We made a few tweaks to that program this year. There will be a couple of minor modifications as we are moving forward for 2018. Again, we will have open enrollment benefits fair in September, open enrollment in October, and then our new plan year begins January 1st of 2018. Our wellness program has been very successful for us. We are continuing with our 10-point wellness system. It requires 6 of those 10 points to be obtained for us to be able to provide a full discount on both employee and dependent coverage for spouses. We are making a minor change to that premium amount, where last year it was a $50 surcharge to our employees that did not meet that. This year it will move to $60. We are trying to align that over the 6 points with an equivalent of $10 per each of those points. But we've been intending for that to move up for a number of years. We are working very closely with our Employee Wellness Committee, and they felt comfortable that a modest increase would be appropriate for 2018, and we will move forward in that regard. One of the changes that we did make in the current year, and we are proposing to continue that change, is that we wanted to make sure that if employees are working toward one of those areas, but they may have not completely have attained everything that's necessary for credit for the program, we wanted to make sure that that effort was being recognized. And one of the things that we implemented this past year is that our nurse would have the discretion to award that point if in her communications with our employee that it was demonstrated that effort was being made in that area, or that there was a desire or intent for effort to be made in that area as well. So we've given a great degree of latitude to the nurse in making sure that that award of the point could continue. It is our intent to continue that, and we will communicate that clearly in our program guidelines that we administer and provide to our employees when they come into the health fair. So that was a recommendation that was made to us by council this past year. We implemented it in the current year, and it is our plan to continue to do that moving forward. The program is an all or nothing type program in that you have the October, November, December period to demonstrate that you have either obtained those points or you are working toward those points, and with that discretion that the nurse would have. As a reminder, we have 10-point areas. One of those is dealing with your A1C under the AMA guidelines. Another is on blood pressure under AMA guidelines. Another is for cholesterol levels under AMA guidelines. One is obtaining an annual physical. Another is obtaining either an eye exam or routine dental exam. Another is BMI at 29 or less. Another is actually meeting with the wellness nurse with a review of those completed risk assessments and measurements. Another point is for completing the tobacco use affidavit, and the 10th is for a cancer screening in the areas of skin, breast, colorectal, prostate, and cervical and oral. So 10 available points that are there, 6 to receive full credit. Program being administered relatively the same, with that change of $50 to $60 as a surcharge for non-compliance. It is our desire and our intent to have 100% participation. We would like to see that. Again, our Employee Wellness Committee are putting things in place this morning. As a matter of fact, we had a wellness breakfast that allows, and it's one of, I believe this year, 19 scheduled events so that folks can get the one required point under public education. This morning was a good turnout. We were very, very glad that we were able to provide that opportunity this morning. The program is continuing to move forward. We do believe that we've had success with the program. We do review it annually with council as well as we bring in our consultants on our insurance program, and they provide us some additional documentation each year when you meet for your annual planning retreat, and we'll continue to provide that information as well. So very minor modifications as we move forward in publishing information for our employees. Again, this applies to our employees and to their spouses. We also have some ancillary agencies that participate in our insurance program, Greer Development Corporation, as well as the Greer Housing Authority. Up to this year, it has been voluntary for those two agencies to participate in our program. We are notifying them this year that participation is mandatory. They have voluntarily participated in the past, but we're putting it into our program guidelines because we are a pooled insurance program. We want to make sure that all members of our pool are participating at the same level. So we will amend those plan documents to both Greer Development Corporation and to the Housing Authority that their participation in the program is required under the guidelines of the program. But again, they're already participating, so we're not expecting any issues with that as well. Are there any questions relative to that program and our path forward? You will only meet once, and it's 2 days before that benefits fair, so we wanted to make sure that we were getting information published and to our employees as they would arrive for that, and we wanted to provide this update to you as part of my administrative report this evening if there were any issues or concerns about our path forward.
Council?
Very good. We'll continue to do that. That concludes my report. You'll note on the agenda there is one stated item for executive session, and I have no additional items to ask of council's consideration.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Council will move to the appointments of boards and commissions. There is still an opening on the election commission. Anyone have anybody to nominate this evening? I would ask that we continue to consider that nomination. I know time is drawing nigh, and before long will be time that we'll need to convene a commission for one of our elections. So please keep that in mind. If you do have a nomination, certainly let Ms. Duncan know, but also probably want to notify other members of the council as well too. If we have more than one nomination, we will proceed under our rules for an election of someone to fill that commission seat. With that, then, we'll move to items of old business, first of which is the second and final reading of ordinance number 25-2017. This is an ordinance to change the zoning classification of property owned by Herman Cox located at 401 North Main Street from C2 to R7.5. Ms. McCormick, any new or additional information in regards to ordinance number 25-2017?
No, sir. Thank you. None at this time.
Entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Floor is open for discussion. Questions? Comments? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Ms. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Ms. Albert? Yes. Mayor Danner?
Yes. Council, we have a second and final reading of ordinance 26-2017. This is an ordinance to change the zoning classification of property owned by Ken Latrue located at 200 Buncombe Street from R12 to R10. Any additional new information in regards to ordinance number 26-2017, Ms. McCormick?
No, sir. None at this time. Thank you.
Entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
Second.
Have a second. Floor is open for discussion. Questions? Comments? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Airwood?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Ms. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Ms. Albert? Yes. Mayor Danner?
Yes. Council, we have one item of new business this evening. This is first and final reading of resolution number 12-2017. This is a resolution authorizing a lease purchase agreement, Series 2017, in the principal amount of not exceeding $2,424,747, relating to the financing of equipment for municipal purposes, authorizing the execution and delivery of documents, including the lease agreement and other related matters. Mr. Seifert?
Thank you, Mayor. The attorney and I worked last week to put together the RFP for our lease purchase. We released those last Thursday, and the RFPs are due back Wednesday, August 30th by noon. What this resolution does is allows us to move forward with receiving and approving the RFP that would be most advantageous to the city, and then allowing the administrator and the mayor and myself and the clerk to move forward in closing that document. The amount of the $2,424,747 is equivalent to the amount that you approved during the budget process for the lease purchase budget.
Floor is open for discussion. Questions? Entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Council, in executive session this evening, we only have one pending item. Council will go into executive session to receive legal advice from council for the city concerning a pending legal matter pertaining to the sale of the Allen Bennett Hospital. Do I hear a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, in executive session, we have considered one matter in regards to a legal matter pertaining to the sale of the Allen Bennett property. We have taken no action in executive session. Do I hear a motion to come out of executive session?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Ms. Albert, yes, Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, we stand adjourned.
Where does Dexter live?
A job.
I didn't know that.
It's on the same street.
Yeah.